Hey guys, it's Anthony, the MMA and political analyst, and yet again, we come back to the Bundy Rant situation. I know I promised in my last video I would try to stop talking about them because it's like beating a dead horse, but they keep drawing me back in. And now the level of hilarity has reached all new heights, guys. Man, these people are. We'll just get into it. So apparently now, the militia groups that have been operating in this area in Nevada around the Bundy Ranch area are in some way turning on each other. Now, we talked about in my last video about how these militia groups, even though Bundy Ranch has been secured, as it were, right? His cows, his cattle have been returned to him, and the government, like the government agents and whatnot, have seemingly left the area, right? The militia groups that defended Cliven Bundy are still in the area, operating as some type of like pseudo military, setting up checkpoints and like harassing the local population. Still to this day. Now, apparently, there's been some dissension among these militia groups, particularly among one of the militia groups. I guess just by reading the situation and judging by this video or some other things I've seen out there on the internet, that this Oath Keepers group, I think they're called Oath Keepers, are like the main like militia group. They're like the big daddy of the militia groups that are operating in the area, right? Or like they're the main chain of command or whatever that they seem to be following. Although it's hard to judge that considering these are disorganized militias and nobody really knows who's in charge or who's not in charge or who's doing what. You know, one of those problems that you tend to run into when you have an unorganized militia. But okay. So anyway, apparently one of these non-Oath Keeper militia groups was under the impression that the government, and particularly Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has them targeted within 48 hours with a drone strike. As to where they got that information from, I don't know. I have no idea where they got that information from, but that's what they thought. So let's just start with that. Guys, if you are going to get targeted with a drone strike, you wouldn't know. You would just be dead. You don't have any intelligence in the government. You don't know what they're about to do. You don't know anything. If there was a drone flying over your head right now, you wouldn't know. You would just be dead. You'd be with your little battle buddies or your little militia group members, probably slanging some beers or something like that in the back of your pickup truck, and then you'd be gone, just like that, and you wouldn't know. Now, having said that, I guess they've been getting their information from the same sources that created the situation in the first place. You know, reading InfoWars and listening to Alex Jones and all these ridiculous conspiracy websites. And that's where they draw their information from. And so I guess that's what led them to think that they were possibly going to be targeted with a drone strike. You know, and like I said, this is what causes this situation in the first place. If all I did all day was listen to Alex Jones and read InfoWars and all these other ridiculous websites that are out there, and I tempered my mainstream media interest with Fox News, well, yeah, I'd probably want to join a militia too, because I would think, oh my gosh, the Obama and the henchmen and the black mafia and the Muslims and the atheists and the New World Order and the Illuminati, they're all coming to get me, so I gotta join a militia, right? That's seemingly how this whole situation was created in the first place, because people are just ran up to just ramped up to whole new levels of fear because of the media they choose to consume. So that's where they got their information from. Like actually thinking that somehow InfoWars or wherever they got this information was like accurate enough to know that they were going to be targeted with a drone strike by Eric Holder himself. So anyway, knowing that, they actually left the area. They packed up and just rolled out, which is, I guess the smart thing to do. I guess. I mean, no one wants to get killed in a drone strike, right? They obviously they have the drones that can fly really, really high, and they can carry all sorts of weapons, and they can bomb you, and you wouldn't know it, you'd be dead. So they got the hell out of there, right? They ran away. Smart decision, in my opinion, but stupid in that it wasn't true. And they admitted it afterward. They said, "Oh yeah, this turns out that information we were going off of was not true," and they actually labeled it as disinformation. Oh really? Disinformation? You mean your entire thought process, or all the information that you base your entire thought process on, is different information? Is that what you mean? Because that's what's going on. You base your whole life around disinformation, and so it's only inevitable that you really thought that you were going to be targeted by a drone strike. Anyway, now look, I'm going to go on a quick aside. There's some very terrible things our government has done over the years, especially since this war on terror thing started, and that is under Bush, Obama, and I'm sure it's going to continue over the next president. We've had drone strikes on American citizens, although overseas, of course. Drone strikes on just random people all throughout the world. We've had warrantless wiretapping. We've got the Patriot Act and some other issues that I haven't even discussed yet, like they just basically killed net neutrality. Corporations still have the right to pay politicians and have more influence in our government than the people do. All these terrible things. But I can't spend any time talking about those issues because I have to talk about this. Because you people are the ones who make it easy for the government to do those things. Because they can just point at you and say, well, we have to spy on people. Look at these idiots. Anyway, I'm sorry. I need to get back on track here. So they left. They abandoned their position. And after they decided that, hey, you know what, maybe we were operating off some bad information, they came back. They came back into the fold of the higher authority of militia or whatever they got going on out there. And now this larger overarching, I guess, militia group known as the Promise Keepers were very upset by this. And they were mad that some of these other militia groups decided to run away. And I don't know the person's name, but there's a video of him. And so he had some quotes that I'll read to you that, and of course you can watch the video, but I'll read these quotes to you that he said. He said, "We don't ever turn tail and run in the face of danger. And we drive on toward the objective, even if you're the last man standing." Right? He actually said that in reference to these other militia groups. And he was visually upset. And he had all his little like council of other militia members around him. And they were all cheering him on, And I'm like, wow. These guys don't even understand basic military freaking principles. Drive on to the objective, even if you're the last man standing? Hey, guy, this is not the Civil War. Driving on toward the objective, if you're the last man standing, is not going to help you. If you take a hill, right, and you're the last one alive, how are you planning on holding that hill by yourself, guy? When the enemy counterattacks, what are you going to do then? How are you going to set up defensive positions on that hill by yourself? You're not, right? And yeah, you're right. Obviously, you don't turn tail and run in the face of danger if you don't have to, obviously. But if you know the enemy has you targeted and you are about to die, well, then it's probably a good idea to move away from that position that you're in, which is apparently what they did. I mean, again, the whole thing is preposterous because it wasn't true anyway. But yeah, that's what you do. You run away. You get the heck out of there. That's, seemingly a very smart, prudent military decision. But they don't understand that because they're not real soldiers. These guys are losers. They're idiots. And, he had his whole little group around him agreeing, yeah, amen, brother. Yeah, dude. And I'm just sitting there laughing. Man, you guys are idiots, dude. What are you doing? Anyway, he went on to say, this was desertion. This was dereliction of duty. And if they either obey I guess he's appointed himself as the commander of these people. If they disobey an order from somebody else, then they are traitors. He said that. And he said something quite scary at the very end. One of the last statements he made in the video was, You're lucky you're not getting shot in the back, because that's what happens to deserters. Yeah, because I guess, like I said, of all the disorganized or organized militias, I guess you're just in charge of them all now. You've appointed yourself as the general of these militias. But I guess the question is, isn't that the whole point of a militia? Like, there is no like centralized chain of command, because that's what happened with the government, right? Since everybody falls under the chain of command that's led by the president, they've all kind of been corrupted now. But not you, of course. You can have a chain of command because you're just infallible, right? But the chain of command, the government, the federal, the FBI and all that, the chain of command they fall under. Oh, that's corrupt. But mine, oh, I'm pure, I'm perfect, of course, right? That's why you have a militia, so that you have different groups who aren't, under the same chain of command. So if one group gets corrupted, then that's okay, because you still got other groups that can do that. That's the whole point of a militia. But they don't understand that either, because they're idiots, and they're proving it. And this is inevitable, guys. This is the inevitable situation that you create when you have these ridiculous militias running around. And I mentioned in my last video, like Afghanistan, because the same crap happens over there. I mean, they have all these different little militia groups all over the country, and each little town has their own, and they got the village elder that runs it, and all this. It's the same crap. And what happens? Every once in a while, these militias will band together, and they'll fight off the Taliban, or the Russians, or the U.S., or whoever it is they feel like fighting. And they'll get together for those few moments. They'll fight off the larger enemy. And then what happens when the larger enemy leaves? It's almost inevitable that they turn on each other. They end up turning on each other and fighting each other, which is exactly what's happening right now. Now, granted, there's no violence yet, but this is the beginning of it. This is almost like you could write this in a book, right? You could write this in a history book and go back and read it 20 years later and be like, yeah, of course that's what happened. Because this is what always happens when you have these ridiculous militias. Guys, go home. Go home. You did a good job, even though I don't agree. You did a good job. You kept the government from taking this guy's cows. Your mission is done. Go home. I mean, I saw this video, and I'm just starting to feel sorry for these guys now, man. There was one guy, like the leader, who looked like a halfway fit person. But as the camera panned left and right, what do I see? A bunch of fat, old losers. What are you guys doing? I mean, these really remind me of the people that like try to join the real army, the one that, I don't know, I'm in, and either couldn't make it, or maybe they joined for a few years and decided this isn't for me, this sucks, right? And they got out, but they still want to have that feeling that they're like part of some kind of army. They want to carry guns around and think they're really cool, right? That's what these guys remind me of. I guess I got some tips for you. For one, if you're old, just retire, man. Go home. Go home and retire. You're going to be all right. I guarantee you that if you just kind of mind your own business, pay your taxes, and just kind of hang out, you're going to be all right. You're going to be just fine, my friend. The government isn't going to come bother you. They're not going to kick in your door and declare martial law. And the Mexicans aren't going to come in and take your, like rape your wife and steal your kids away or anything like that. You're going to be all right. You're going to be just fine. Obama has no beef with you. I might disagree with you about, certain things, that way you live your life or whatever, but I don't care. It's you, man. Go ahead. So just do that, man. Go home. Go home and enjoy the rest of your life. You're retired now. Go live it up. For these younger guys who are all fat and overweight, you've seen a couple videos on my channel when I talk more about MMA, and I talk about how I'm training, and I even have a couple videos of me training. You come hang out with me, bro. I got you. We're going to get you in shape. We're going to have you help you lose some weight, get you in shape. And then if you really, really, really need to go fight somebody, then, okay, now at least you're in shape. At least you're ready to physically handle the demands of the situation that you are apparently putting yourself in. You really want to go fight somebody? Well, at least you got to be in shape. And I'll help you out with that, because I feel bad for you. I take pity on you guys. I earlier on when I made my first video about this Clive and Bundy thing, I was actually kind of scared. Like, I was like, man, these guys are serious. But as time goes on, after the racist, ridiculous rant that Clive and Bundy went on, and the fact that the militias are still there doing stupid stuff, and now that I've seen that these clowns can't even get along with each other, I really don't. I'm not even really concerned with it. I feel sorry for you guys. I feel bad. And I really hope that at some point, maybe one of you, two of you, will look yourself in the mirror and you realize how pathetic you are, and you'll go home, and you'll go home, and you'll just be like, yeah, this is stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, if I really love this country and I really want to be about what this country's about, then I will go fight the government the right way. Right? I'll go fight the government the right way, and I will bring about change the right way. I mean, again, going off a quick aside, think about the Tea Party. I don't agree with the Tea Party on just about 90% of all issues, right? But think about it. Think of the major political force they've become recently, right? I mean, they have changed the landscape of the Republican Party, and they've shifted the whole Republican Party to the right, all by themselves, right? Politically, without using any guns necessarily, right? Why can't you do that? You probably can. I'm sure there's like a significant number of you guys. You guys got together, organized yourselves politically, and push for the type of change that you want. And you'd be a force to be reckoned with. We people would have to be like, well, you know, we wanted to pass this law, but we got these independent militia types around, so we can't really do that now. We have to consider what they want before we make policy. You can do that, guys. But instead, you want to pick up your guns and go set up checkpoints and run around here looking fat and out of shape and old. You're not going to get anywhere with that, man. You're not. That's really all I got to say on the topic. This is Anthony, the MMA and political analyst. I'll talk to you.